What's going on, guys? We're back. We're still working on pulling the engine out of the Beetle, this wonderful thing right here. So, got a list of a few things that we got to accomplish this video. One, get the engine out. That's the big thing. So, looking at it right now, I've got to pull off the lines that go to the heater core lines, disconnect the lines from the rack. We've got the motor mounts to undo. Assorted random evap hoses. Got to pull all the manual shifter stuff from the inside. And I think that's pretty much all that's stopping us from getting this engine out of the car. Engine crane is over there on the ground. So we'll set that back up. And hopefully by the end of this video, get this engine out. As you can hear, I sound sick. That's because I've been sick for the last 2 weeks. So there's a reason that I haven't gotten as much done on this as I really wanted to. You also may notice from the last video, there's pieces missing of this thing. So I put this up for sale saying if anybody wants parts, come get them while I still got them. And I had a bunch of people actually come and grab a few parts off of it. So the hood is gone, some interior trim pieces. The trunk switch is gone, so that's why I had to make sure the trunk was open. And yeah, so let's start on doing things and get this thing ready to pull. We're just going to get right to it. I'm going to start pulling the stuff out of the inside here. This should be the same on pretty much every other car. I pulled the transmission out. So take this out. Oh man, this still has all the boots and everything. So take all this stuff out. Disconnect everything. Come on. Can't be on there that hard. There we go. So we got to get to all the shifter linkage under there. So I have to pull this out and then disconnect that. So We'll come back when I know how to get this apart because I have no idea what I'm doing. All right, so turns out I don't really need to disconnect anything on the inside right away. I should probably do some research first. So disconnect my shift linkage right here. So I'm gonna take this off, disconnect it here, and that runs through underneath. I don't even know if you can see that. That's your shifter cables right there. We'll deal with that after. Oh, exhaust. I've got to disconnect the exhaust. Completely forgot about that. So let's start with this mess. All right, so I got the bracket that holds the shifter linkage off, and I'm starting to take everything kind of transmission side that needs to come off. Axles, that's another thing. And this is why we're redoing everything on this before it goes in. I don't know if you see that fluid leaking down there. Right there. That's this crusty old slave line. As soon as I touched it, it just crumbled. So that's why we're going over everything in this car and making sure it's A1 before it goes into the vehicle. So let's deal with that mess. In case anybody ever says, why don't you save this car, you're ruining this car, this is why. This thing is gross. Anyway, that clutch line's completely rotten, so it's leaking. I'm going to take the axles out while I'm over here. If you can see, it's triple squares right there. They look absolutely crusty, so this is going to be all kinds of fun. So we're going to take those out now. Can't destroy these axles either because I do need these. I think it's a M8 or an M6. I can't remember, so we're going to see what fits in here. If I can get my hand in here. Oh, that's fun. Also, side note, while I'm over here getting covered in rust, look at how separated this controller bushing is. That's wild. Brake fluid leak, classic. So back to what I was doing. Just thought that was just impressive. All right, so we got everything disconnected under the car. I got the axles disconnected from the transmission. I got the transmission mount disconnected. The shifter cables are off. Slaves disconnected. I've got the motor mounts left. Power steering line. Heater core lines. I think that's pretty much it. The exhaust still does have to come off, but it's broken right after the flex. So I'm kind of hoping when I pull it like backwards and up that it just kind of comes with it because it's the bolts on the flange are not coming off. They're not accessible right now. So I'd like to do that once everything's out, but we will see. So yeah, let's do some heater core lines and then out of breath. So I'll show you what I got down underneath. All right, so under the car, as you can see, more rust and the backing plate fell off. Bolts are out for the tranny mount down there. All the axle hardware is out. I still have to pull it out of the hub, but I think for pulling purposes, it should be okay. Yeah, power steering line's left. I have that just jammed in there so it's not flying everywhere. But as you can see, we got some refreshing to do on this thing. It is crusty. But surprisingly enough, this Beetle, the floor pans, because it's been undercoated, are actually really good, but everything else is rotten on it. But the exhaust is broken there, but it is broken right behind the subframe, so I'm kind of hoping it'll just pull out. But if not, we'll just cut it and go from there. So, all right, let's finish up the rest. All right, so I've got everything pretty much disconnected. I'll just show you everything that I had to disconnect. All right, so got this EVAP nonsense disconnected. All the coolant hoses are disconnected and the coolant reservoir is out. I got the heater core lines disconnected. Power steering lines are disconnected. The axles are disconnected from the transmission. I have the nuts pulled off, but I don't, because technically I have to take this apart to, move it. Actually, I could just take the ball joint out, but that's, everything's C. So I'm gonna try and pull the motor, and then once the axles pop, just pop. This boot already split just because it's dry rotted, so we're past trying to save that. The dog bone mount's disconnected. The exhaust is still attached. Like I said, we're gonna deal with that when I get there. And I have the two side mounts still connected. So what I'm gonna do next, oops, that's where those went, is get the crane set up and start attaching this. And then we can kind of see where we're at and what we need to do and go from there. So exciting step. Well, here's where we find out what I forgot to disconnect. So it looks kind of sketchy. It kind of is. So I'm gonna set you guys up. So if you see something happen, great. So hopefully nothing happens. Let's start disconnecting motor mounts. All right, I'll keep it real with you guys. I've hit a snag, so went to disconnect everything here, as you can see. And I noticed the harness is still attached. And I go to take the motor mount off, but the harness is in the way. So I'm like, oh, I'll just disconnect the harness. So I start pulling things off, and then I realize I'm gonna have to de-pin the whole harness, which I don't wanna do because I have a brand new harness. So I'm like, oh, there should be a disconnect. So I'll show you where it is. So I'm following my harness that I'm starting to disconnect. I'm like, oh, it goes up here. There's no connection that I can see. So it runs into the car to the ECU. So on a Mark IV like this, your ECU is underneath the rain tray. So I pulled the rain tray off, assuming it would just be here. It's not. So I'm gonna start ripping apart the inside of the dash. So update, Beetles suck. The ECU is underneath your dash. There's a bunch of mouse stuff in there, which is also not fun, but you've got to take apart your whole dash. You can watch a video on how to do that if you care. I just kind of tore everything apart. There's a bunch of T20s. And the worst part is sitting in the car, I can't really see what I'm doing. I can see better on video, so this is all gross, but I need to disconnect this harness so that I can fish the harness to the firewall, hopefully. I think there's room for it. Looks like there's room. Oh yeah, there's room. So we'll disconnect all this and then fish everything through. That's body side, or I'm pointing on my screen. This should be chassis side, that should be engine side. That's the ECU we do need to make the car run, so we gotta be careful. I'm gonna put gloves on because it's gross as hell in here. You can see all the rodent stuff. But yeah, let's get all this out. All right, so after getting through the entire dashboard, I have now sneaked the ECU wiring harness out. Oh my God, that was a nightmare. So I have a brand new one of these, so thank the Lord. Not that I've broken much on this, but a couple things definitely have broken, so There we go. Okay. So everything that's attached to the chassis now, that's all. Okay, we're good wiring wise now. So now we can take this out. All right, next day. I got the axles out. They're right there. All the exhaust bolts except for one came out. I can't really get it because of where it's at. It's got like a weird brace that comes off the manifold. And it's rotten. It's supposed to be 13 and it's like a 10.5. So I'm gonna try and jimmy the engine just forward a little bit so I can get there and just cut it off with the hacksaw. But the engine is coming out, so we'll set the camera up and hopefully it comes out this time. Fingers crossed. All right, the engine's ready to come out. I just have to do this last exhaust bolt. Let's see if we can. That one right there, that doesn't really exist. So now I actually have room to get on this. So I'll take that off now, pull the downpipe off, and then she's ready to come out. What a nightmare. So these are all the flange bolts from the exhaust. Every single one of them broke, which makes my life easier because I was trying to cut through this one and it was on an angle and just was not fun. So it snapped. So now this can actually come out. We'll set you up on a different angle. Why not? See if I can figure out a new angle. You can see it come out live. Probably not, actually. All right, so our drive line is out. This is this bracket thing I was talking about. I don't really know what it does, but that can go. But this thing, like I said, has been sitting in a field for a while, so she's pretty crusty. So we're gonna have to refresh everything. We'll sand it all down, get her painted up nice, refresh the whole thing. As you can tell, oil pan was definitely leaking, so we're gonna reseal the upper and lower pan while it's off. Clean everything up, but yeah. Still has a converter, which is nice, so I will be running a converter. I don't care what anybody says. Captain Planet. Have to grab that shifter linkage out, and then some assorted lines, but that's my power steering line. She's pretty crusty, actually. Is it just a coating? we'll grind it down and investigate. So might have to get a new line too. But yeah, you saw me beat the hell out of this because I didn't want to take hoses off because I want to label everything before I do it. Obviously, if you care about your car, you're not going to do this. This thing is garbage. That's just a pile of rust. You can see that over there. That's just for me trying to take the lower ball joint out. There's more back there. Like, this thing's no good. But engine's out. Let's put it on the dolly. And I'm calling that a night. All right, so this is where we're ending off for the night. Engine's out. It's right here on the ground. Next step is to kind of start refreshing it. I'm going to start kind of picking apart at it. We'll see exactly what we need to order. I have a pre-made list of like the general stuff, but see what we need to order. I'm going to sort through the lines in the engine bay. We'll see what we need to order new. Shout out Jeremy at Volkswagen Moncton. I'm going to annoy the hell out of him, but he's going to find me everything I need because he's the man. But yeah, that's it. We did what we wanted to this video. We got the engine out. So thank you for watching, guys. Next video will probably be tearing down this engine here and then tearing down this thing. So again, thanks for watching, guys. Like, comment, subscribe, and see you later.